So why have so many, in this case I'm focusing on young men who've become elders in Jehovah's Witnesses, and then now why have they got that attitude? It's human nature, I suppose, but the Bible actually, interestingly, foretells it. You see, it foretells it. Now, in my previous video, it will be up in the corner in case you missed it, leads into this one. It focused on this scripture in Matthew 24, and I read verse 14, which is a very important one for any evangelical Christian. And of course, it's probably the most well-known scripture amongst Jehovah's Witnesses, because it says this. Because it's talking about the last days when Jesus would return. Now, obviously, some say, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses said he's already returned. He returned invisibly to establish his kingdom. His kingdom needed to be established on earth because the kingdom has subjects that are from earth, and it has members that make up the kingdom who are going to heaven, but they come from earth. So the kingdom has to find those members on earth. It has to then establish itself, get that number, and then produce a huge group of people who are its subjects. So if you're joining a kingdom, in this case, not the kingdom of the world, not the kingdom of the nations, not the kingdom of Ukraine, not the kingdom of Russia, America, Britain, it's the kingdom of Christ. And this is the future kingdom that's coming soon to take over the world. Christians call it the day of judgment. And that's what Christians are commanded by Christ to preach. And he says this good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the inhabited earth for a witness to all the nations. Then the end will come. Jesus cannot come and change this world and save humanity until the preaching work is done. So some will respond positively to the message, and the vast majority will not. Jesus was no more successful, and humans who follow him are not expected to be more successful than him. How many were with him when he was dying? A few faithful women. Even Peter had fled, and the men went back off to their businesses. Just a few faithful women, including his mother and Mary Magdalene. Anyway, Matthew 24 is all about the last days when Jesus said he would come again to save the world, not just Israel, it was for the whole world, Jews and Gentiles. Now in Matthew 24 he goes on through lots of things that will be happening in the last days. These have been happening in society, and they're going to intensify. They're going to get even more intensified as we close in on the very final part of the days. Mentions nation rising against nation in verse 7, and earthquakes and pestilences, etc. But this verse 9 relates to what I'm talking about. It says, then people will hand you over to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all the nations on account of my name. Then too many will be stumbled and will betray one another and will hate one another. Now, who is he talking about here? Now, Jehovah's Witnesses often make this as an application to human society. And that's true, isn't it? We see that out in human society. But he also says, many will be stumbled. Now, if we're talking about stumbled, they must be Christians. They must be dedicated, baptized Christians. In this case, we're talking about Jehovah's Witness Christians. Many will be stumbled. So many Jehovah's Witness Christians will be stumbled. And that false prophets, it says, will hate one another. So it says they will betray one another and hate one another. How is that hatred displayed? Well, it's displayed when families break up, when your spiritual families break up, and sometimes fleshly families as well. You know, someone's been thrown out of the congregation, the communication, the friendship, the let's go for a drink then, that's all gone, hasn't it? Because there's this separation. Their life is different from what it used to be. They don't fit in anymore. So there's this hatred, betrayal and hatred. And those who are stumbled, those who are baptized witnesses who are stumbled, it says they will betray and hate one another. And then it says because false prophets will arise and mislead many. So many in the Christian congregation will be misled by false prophets. Where do you get your information from? Where does it come from today? This medium, the news, the radio, the TV, the internet primarily. So the stumbling is going on the internet. It's the primary source of stumbling. And it says the increasing of lawlessness, that greater love of the number would grow cold. That does apply, of course, throughout society, yes, but it applies within the Christian congregation. Some have left. There's hatred. There's betraying one another. There's stumbling. There is love that's fallen away. This is being displayed by these videos. And I'm focusing on these young men at the moment. He says the greater number would grow cold. So the love within the Christian congregation would be affected by this behaviour. It would be under attack. Then it says the one who's endured to the end. So the one who's endured within the Christian congregation or within church, who's endured but both the behaviour of people outside the church and by the behaviour of those who are inside it, who may have left or may stirring up trouble, they have to endure to the end. And Jehovah's Witnesses, that's including family members who've left, they've got to endure to the end because of their behaviour as well, especially if they've become enemies, trying to destroy the faith of their former families, their former spiritual and fleshly families. They're out to destroy their faith. Then it talks about the preaching of the good news. So Christians have not only all that trouble, but they have the responsibility to preach the good news in a world that is worsening in its conditions. Obviously, Jesus will then make a judgment, won't he? He will open the door to the faithful virgins and they will enter into his kingdom. So take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Speak to you again.